Okay, thank you for joining us once again for Free Play's online festival. I'm Dan Golding, Free Play Director, and I'm just here to introduce this really interesting panel where it's called The Interview Game, and it's featuring journalist Katie Williams and ex-Free Play Director Katie Williams, 2013 Free Play Director Katie, from all the way in the United States at the moment. And Chris Johnson, a game developer from Adelaide, who is perhaps most notable for his terrific Expand. And Katie's going to be interviewing Chris sort of about his games and I think within his games as well. So I'm going to drop out now. And oh, sorry, as well, I should also just say before we begin, thanks to our online festival sponsor, Surprise Attack. And as well, where Free Play is running here all week in Melbourne, Australia, and we've still got tickets to our symposium available on Sunday the 19th. So visit us at freeplay.net.au for more info, and of course to watch all the other panels that we've been doing online. So I'm actually going to drop out now and hand over to Katie and Chris for what will be, I'm sure, a terrific panel. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, Chris, how are you doing? Tell us a bit about yourself to begin with. How long have you been developing, designing games, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm okay. It actually feels kind of surreal being here because we're having this private conversation that like everyone can listen in on. So it feels a bit weird like that. But yeah, I suppose I've been designing games since I've been in high school. So I started like learning to program Flash games, and I made a few Flash games. I released a commercial game when in high school with my twin brother and a few other people about like how the environment would be screwed up in like 2020, and yeah. But then yeah, from there I've just been making a whole bunch of smaller games. I've been sort of doing games on and off, and from I suppose the start of last year I went full time working on games.
So you're working on Expand now, is that right?
Yeah, I'm working on a game called Expand, yeah.
It's gotten quite a bit of positive press recently. I thought maybe we could start off with Expand.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, walk us through Expand and I guess tell us about your design processes behind it.
Should I start up the game? And we can talk while it sort of plays?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I'll get that going. All right. And here we go. And expand. Okay, can you see this?
I can see something loading up.
It should be.
There we go.
Okay, I hope that's not too chuggy. Okay. Oh. So you can see it now?
I see a black screen and a cursor.
Oh no. I don't know what's going on there. Give me a sec. I'll just try that again. Or maybe what I'll do is I'll just share the entire screen. That might work a bit better. You can see that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll just flick it over to being in full screen then.
Okay.
Turn the music down a little bit. Okay, cool. So, well, I suppose the idea. So I should start off by explaining that you're moving around as the pink square.
We've
we're just
so you know.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
That's the downfall of this kind of interview format. Unforeseen technological problems. It's okay.
But anyway, you can see this though?
Yeah, when you just play it on your desktop like that.
Okay, so it doesn't like full screen. All right.
Yeah.
That's fine.
If you don't mind us being able to see your desktop as well, it's fine.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't have anything dubious on there, so that's all good.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I suppose the idea for the game came about like 5 years ago. I was at a game jam, and during that jam, what happened was we had to make a game about the world coming to an end, and I was working on a game where you would it's kind of like Mario Galaxy in 2D, and at the center of the screen you had this black hole that was like sucking in all the planets. And I was working on this game, and I ran into some bugs, and then after working on it for like 5 days and not being able to get it working quite right, I ended up scrapping the game. And that night I went to bed and I had this dream of this very weird black and white kind of game, which is kind of what you see here with Expand now.
Hang on, did you say this came to you in a dream?
Yeah, in a dream.
Wow, okay.
I don't usually like dream that much, and I'm not much of a lucid dreamer, but it was just one of these things where I'd been thinking about it so much that it kind of, the idea of the game jam and the theme, that I think I kind of internalized it, and then just letting go and sleeping really brought out just something that was maybe internally inside. I'm really not sure. It's kind of weird with this game because I'm usually like very conscious of things, or try to be very conscious of what I'm working on and the interesting elements and parts of it. But with this game, it's kind of the opposite. It's very like subconscious. I'm not really actively thinking about what I'm doing a lot of the time, even though that kind of sounds like a detriment. It's more of it's more like feeling out of space, I suppose.
Alright. It is quite different to a lot of the other games you've made, I must say that.
So yeah, I suppose the aim is that you want to avoid being like squashed and crushed. And if you're crushed, what happens is the world kind of resets. But it's kind of skewed off center from where the last checkpoint was saved.
It's quite symbolic, isn't it? It's if you can't solve this problem the first time, you can kind of approach it from a different angle.
Yeah, that's right.
Quite
and I suppose in some ways it takes that sting out of the punishment of trying again.
Yeah. I must admit, before I played this myself, I'd seen screenshots and stuff, and I'd kind of mentally written it off as just another puzzle game. But when I first played it, I was just kind of really taken aback at how beautiful the music was and how emotional this experience actually was for me. Is that kind of something you were going for? Is that something you expected in playing?
I don't know. I suppose. I mean, that's like a focus, right? Like this game didn't really start off. So the game will eventually be released and will be sold, but it never really started off as a commercial game. So there was never really this intention of like going in there with like set goals and set ideas. It was more of just like, I'm gonna kind of make this and express part of myself through the game. But I don't really understand what I'm kind of expressing as part of like my personality. I think it's something that maybe 12 months after releasing the game, I'll be able to look back and say, yeah, this bit here reflects me in this way. But I broadly speaking, it's kind of really hard to say.
All right. And a few words come up every now and then. Just now I saw "you will fit in." Is there a message there?
Yeah, there is. So the idea with each of kind of the levels and areas is that there's like a meta idea behind things. So what I'll do is I'll like start by kind of blocking out and playing with ideas for levels. Then I'll find something that seems kind of interesting, and then I'll put a little bit of and then when I've made that level, I add a little bit of text in to kind of reinforce that idea. So at the start of this area, it said, for now be close. And the idea with this kind of level is that you need to be close to the center so that you can move around faster and avoid being squashed. So it's kind of, the text is used as a way to reinforce the ideas behind the levels, the things that you're meant to learn, and also to kind of be suggestive as well.
Okay. Oh no.
Oh, I should also. Oh,
Sorry, continue.
I'll quickly just add. I should also say that I'm working on this game with Chris Larkin, who's
Yeah, yeah. I was just about to ask about his involvement and how you guys have been working together to, I guess, bring the soundtrack and the mechanics of this game into alignment.
yeah. Well, Chris came on board. So I worked on it at the Game Jam, and then the next year I came back and I worked on it some more. To show it at a thing in Adelaide called the Indie Games Room, which is run at AvCon. And then Chris attended AvCon and he saw the game and he liked it, but he had a whole bunch of suggestions for it. And so then we kind of got talking, and I didn't work on the game for about half a year, and I kind of spent that time doing other work and kind of getting to know Chris, because I think it's really difficult to find really good people to work with, and in order to work well with someone, you really have to have a sense of what they're like, and to have a real sort of nice matchup in terms of vision about what you're working on, and yeah. So we kind of like just got to know each other for like 6 months, and then he came on board and started to do music for the game.
So what kind of suggestions did he have originally? Were they all music related, or were they gameplay related as well?
It was mostly, we started off just thinking about what kind of music would be suitable for the game. And so with the earlier prototypes, I had like found a whole bunch of really nice kind of classical piano kind of stuff that I liked. And so Chris started off by kind of building on that. But then after a while, what we did was we got to this point where Chris had his own ideas about where the music should go, and so usually what would happen is I'd put in some suggestions, and then after a while he'd be like, look, I know you're not going to like this, but we should totally try this type of music. And then we did that, and every time it I just really grew to love the stuff that he was doing.
Right.
And it kind of like naturally fit really well. So
yeah, it really fits like all the thoughts you've scattered throughout the game as well. Stay close, you will fit in, that sort of thing. I think both of those are adding up for a really beautiful emotional message here.
At the same time, while we want to have, we have an idea of kind of what we want to express with the game, but we don't, I think there's also these pitfalls that there are certain like trends people like fall into, especially with kind of minimalist games like that, right? Like they have this kind of existential nonsense kind of story, right? Or they're like a bag of fortune cookies.
Yeah.
The kind of advice they give. And one of the things we definitely want to avoid with the message that we're trying to communicate is being just like that, right?
Right.
That's something we're still kind of working on, though, right? We don't have a. We know what we're trying to say, but it's just a matter of making sure that we execute on that, which is
right. So would you say this is a puzzle game above anything else, or would you say the narrative is equally important?
I don't really think of it like a puzzle game, because I don't really think about the levels as being puzzles. For me, like a puzzle is something that you have to try again several times, that you got to kind of step back from and really think about. And it's something that's really quite difficult with the puzzles in Expand, where we're not so much trying to create like a puzzle, I suppose we're more trying to create like a dance, right? Like there are moves and there are steps that you have to follow through with, but it's not really like, you don't have to kind of sit there and stare at it to figure it out. Like sometimes you do, but like most of the time you can just kind of like walk into, the dangerous areas and kind of go from there.
Right.
And figure it out like on your feet. I might actually skip ahead a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
So we're currently like using the editor behind the scenes.
So all of the, I guess, levels we've seen so far have been circular. Is there a reason for that? Like, is the entire game, based around this circle?
Yeah. So the entire game is based on the circle. There's no other kind of shapes except for the kind of shapes you already see, which are these. I suppose they're these. If you imagine cutting a piece of pie and then taking these circular strips out of the pie, that's kind of the basic unit of the world. And
right.
Yeah.
Do you think the game would have the same impact? Would it feel the same if it was, I don't know, rectangular? If it didn't have this obvious center point?
I think it kind of adds to the space feeling a bit like strange and unfamiliar. It makes it different. And that's one of the things we kind of want to go for, because if you take people and you put them into a space that's very unusual, then they kind of come to it with fresh eyes.
Right.
I think one of the things which is kind of interesting about it being grounded like around the center point here is that you kind of have to use cameras in a different way. So if you imagine like a platformer game like Mario, what happens is, as you move to the right of the screen, the camera will sort of follow you. But what happens in a game that's centered around a point at the center of the screen, like in that case, the way you kind of have to move the camera is to shrink the world, which is kind of what you're seeing here, as everything is being sucked in.
Right. Which is kind of the opposite of the name expand.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you go the other way, things kind of expand out as well, right?
Yeah. Okay, is there any significance behind the title, Expand? Or is it just, I guess this world expanding from the center point on the screen?
Yeah, it's pretty much just that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I should say about being circular is that by being circular, and by moving in a circular fashion, I think it adds to this kind of smoothness. Like when you're using an analog stick, the motions you make on that stick tend to feel smoother than just pushing, like buttons. And
right.
In terms of like one of the kind of focuses that we have in the game is for the smoothness to be carried throughout. So levels kind of link together with no super obvious breakpoint. It all feels continuous, and there's no like loading breaks or anything like that. And having the input method and the general game showing that smoothness, I think, is important to present something that's like really cohesive.
Right.
And in some ways, it's also like really, it's really like pleasing, I think, just to move around in a circular like motion on an analog stick.
It's certainly very beautiful to both watch and play. So how far in development is Expand? When do you think you'll be releasing?
Well, we're hoping that the game will be finished content-wise this year. So within the next 6 months or so, we're hoping that all the content will be done. From there, we're not exactly sure as to when it will be released. It'll either be released sometime this year or in September, October, or early next year.
Okay.
So it depends, because once we get the game content complete, we want to bring it to a few other platforms, and that takes a bit of extra work as well. So
yeah, I know you're primarily known for, I guess, small experimental little titles. Is this your first big commercial release?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't really see myself as being a commercial artist. I think when you're a commercial artist, you have to follow through with this fantasy of what the market wants. And
right.
when you do that, you make concessions, even unconsciously, in your designs. And I have a few friends and a few different people I know, and I see them kind of unconsciously making these kind of concessions without realizing it. And
what sort of concessions do you mean? Like a dilution of your message? Or...
Yeah. Like one of the things, there's no, like a lot of games, for example, that are commercial usually aren't really political, right? Because there are kind of limitations on, if you're trying to make something that's going to sell, right, you don't want to say something that's going to upset too many people.
Right.
Or if you, like a game like this, right, it could never really start as a commercial project because it's just really different. And like when I started working on this game years ago, before the levels and the areas got as sophisticated as they are now, a lot of people were like kind of thinking it's just a toy, and yeah, like not really thinking too highly of it. And so I think you make these kind of concessions to the market, some people argue that like that maybe that's the deal, right? That you have to, if you want to work in a creative industry, that's what you have to do. But it kind of feels like if you want to make stuff that's really provocative, making it at least with the focus on money is just not going to help you, create that kind of work. Because you have to create work, like you'll probably be creating work that's not going to make people happy, that's going to annoy people, and I don't think a lot of people are like comfortable with paying for experiences that aren't pleasant.
Right. I would totally pay for experiences that are unpleasant, but I suppose I'm not most people. But yeah, I find it's interesting that you've I don't know. I guess, like you say, you are not really a commercial artist in a way, but you've kind of hit on something here that I think does well both artistically and commercially.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe we'll find out when it sells, right? The market can decide for us. But like, yeah, I mean, but the thing is, going into any project, it's never the intention. I never really have the intention of making money.
Right.
But then again, I suppose I'm also in the position now of getting older and kind of needing money as well, right? So it might just have to be one of these things where it's like, maybe in 10 years' time, right, I'll be, saying something else. But right now, it just feels like that's the concession. I mean, in some ways, I think it's beyond just the market as well. I think it's also about recognition too, like creating things in order to be recognized, or creating like quirky, different things just for the attention, or just to get recognition is kind of it seems detrimental to actually creating something that's expressive, because it's not really honest in a sense.
Do you think a lot of game developers do that?
I don't know. I think yeah, I think quite a few do, and maybe not without realizing it. But then again, like I also don't really play too many games, so I don't feel that there are that many games that speak in a way that's kind of honest. With all that said, though, it's extremely hard, I think, to try to express yourself in an honest way. It's probably like one of the most difficult things that you can kind of aspire to do. I suppose in a sense it leads the act of trying to make something that's honest. At least I'd like to think as maybe kind of in a kind of romantic way as being like a noble endeavor.
Right. All right, I was thinking we could move on to one of your other games now.
All right, let's do that.
All right, do you have any preference?
Yes, I do, actually. We'll play the Mirai game, because that's...
Excellent.
Now, I'm going to flick this to full screen. Can you let me know if you can see it?
Yep.
Can you see that?
Yep, seems to be working fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll get started then. I should say, yeah, I also worked on this game with a friend, Brad Barrett, and another friend, John, and my partner, Catherine, helped with coming up with the idea and a bit of the writing as well.
Can you explain the name to me, Moirai? What's the meaning behind that?
Maybe I'll play through and then we can come back to that actually.
Yeah, sure.
The game, as you know, has a little bit of a twist, so.
Yeah.
But so essentially in this one, you're kind of just moving around the world. It's got the Wolfenstyle like kind of graphics, and the actual type of rendering here. I don't want to get too technical, but it's actually done using software rendering, so it's not using a graphics card as well. So it's actually the exact kind of same technique that you had in like the Return to Castle the first Wolfenstein game.
I can't think of a game less like Wolfenstein. All right, so what's going on here? You're just walking around a village.
Yeah, so you just walk around the town and you talk to. So I talked to the priest guy before, and he had told me that there's this person in the town called Julia, and Julia has disappeared. And you're kind of talking to the different people. You're kind of set this task to try to find, where she has gone. And as you talk to the other
Lost
people,
her husband.
so she's lost. The story goes that she's lost her husband, and shortly after losing her husband, she lost her boy as well, her young child. And yeah, there's several different people in the village. There is, some of them work on a farm nearby. So what we'll do is just maybe move on. We'll go through here. So we'll go to this farm area.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of area at the start of the game is used to kind of like get people to think this is just like a normal kind of indie game. It's meant to be kind of like unassuming, right? Like,
yeah, it definitely comes across that way, especially with the music and the sheep poking and whatnot.
But eventually you come over to this cave area, and there's this guy here, and he's going to tell you that my brother and I were chopping wood when we heard moans coming from the cave. My brother went in to investigate. He should have been back by now. I'm worried. Can you check up on him? There's a lantern behind you on that stump. So we'll grab this lantern, and we'll go into this cave. Okay. And you come over here. So there's another guy in the cave. It's probably the brother. Did my brother send you? Bless him, the moans are coming from further down. I'd go in, but my sight's no good. You should take this knife. Who knows? You may need it. Okay, so we've got 3 ways to go. We've got left, straight ahead, and to the right. Which way should we go, Katie?
Let's head right.
We can make this into a choose your own adventure. I could play and you could tell me like where to go at certain points. Okay. Oh.
Okay, show us the walls.
Okay, so there's like these on the walls. There are these like strokes, and there are a lot of these strokes actually. Like when you're counting for something. Let's see here. What's this? Look at tools.
It reminds me of visiting Ned Kelly's prison when I was a kid and seeing, prisoners doing these strokes on the walls to signify how long they've been in their cells.
Mm-hmm. And there's also a book here, so let's have a look at that. So the book is labeled Farmers, and there's a list of names. Janders Joseph Chavez.
How eerie.
Yeah, that is good. Actually, speaking about books and prisoners, I went to GDC into America a little while ago, and I went to Alcatraz, and it was kind of interesting because at Alcatraz there was a library with all like the different philosophers, and because the prisoners had time, they could read up, all the different modern thoughts, and so they were much better read than the general populace.
Oh,
so
wow.
Kind of interesting. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I came back the other way, and I've now gone to the left.
Yeah.
And
so you found bones.
Oh no. Might be bones of a child.
Yeah, so we know Julia's kid is missing.
Yeah, that's pretty sus. And then there's this hole, so I can see something shiny. It's just out of reach. Okay. Let's go back.
Alright, so this is the beginning with the 3 paths again?
Yeah, sorry, so I've just gone. I'm probably throwing a lot of people right off, but we're just back at the start.
Okay.
And then there's the brother. And
right. Okay.
we'll go, so we've been to the right, that's the room with all the strokes on the wall. And we've been to the left, which has got the hole and the bones. So now we'll go straight ahead. I don't know if you could hear that, but there was like a crying sound. And Then someone with a knife. Okay, a farmer approaches. And now we've got several choices. So we can ask questions. So why do you have blood on your overalls? Why do you have a knife? I heard moans, what have you done? And then we can choose to let the person pass or to attack.
All right. Well, let's ask him why he's got blood all over him.
Okay.
A woman spurted blood at me.
Okay. Why did that happen?
Why do you have a knife?
Let's do that, yeah. A man gave it to me. All right. I heard moans, what have you done? There was a dying woman. Okay, but you have blood over you. It was pretty sus.
Yeah. Why was she dying? Is it because you had a knife and made her spurt blood with it?
So, what should we do? Should we attack them? Yeah, let's attack them. Why not?
Yeah, let's attack.
Oh, stab! Oh no.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay, that's not good. Look at the body. Okay, we just killed Joseph. All right. Let's just keep going. All right, a bit further.
The music's really beautiful. Oh.
Okay, there's someone here. Oh, please help me. I'm in a lot of pain. I came here to end my life. My name is Julia. So this is Julia from the town earlier.
Right.
I want to see my child and husband in heaven. My husband was a miner in these caves. He spent days mining for gold, and then one day he found something. He found a golden nugget. I thought we could retire and be comfortable for the rest of our lives, but he didn't trust me. He buried the golden nugget to spite me. Then he disappeared. Everyone in the town heard about our good fortune. They thought I was rich. I was so ashamed that I couldn't tell them the truth. Okay. One day my son wandered into the cave. He wanted to find Daddy. He wanted to make everything better. But he never came out of the cave. Okay. I went to look for him, but I couldn't find him. Now it's too late. Now I have nobody. Will you help me? Will you help me end my life? You've done it before. It should be easier the second time.
Wow, you've done it before.
Yeah.
It seems very depressing to basically end this woman's family line.
But yeah, but she'd already come here to commit suicide, right? So maybe it would actually be helping her, right? If we, if she's in a lot of pain, right? That's the same justification we do with euthanasia, right? You're cool, Katie. What should we do?
Yeah, let's help her kill herself.
Stab.
I love the subtitle. Just stab.
All right. So now we're free to leave. That's right. So we'll leave. I suppose we've got a pretty good score right now. We've racked up 2 kills. So. Okay. Okay, a farmer approaches. Hopefully by now people are starting to twig to an idea that's going on. What do you have blood on your overalls? And at this point I can type in anything that I want into the game.
Right.
So, like, why do we have blood? I suppose if we're playing together, we're both sharing the overall. So why do we have blood on our shared overall?
Well, we just killed 2 people.
Ooh. Oh no. We just killed 2 people. Why do you have a knife?
Why do we have a knife? The guy at the beginning of the cave gave it to us.
Okay. Okay, I heard moans. What have you done?
Alright, I guess we killed a guy who seemed kind of dodgy and who had blood all over him, and we thought he was a murderer.
Yeah.
And then we helped a lady end her life.
How about we do this? We did the right thing.
Mm.
How do we? Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what will happen to you. And that's where the story shall end, at least for now. It's up to you to choose the fate. It's up to the next player of the game to choose your fate, just as you chose for the previous player. Okay. Enter your first name, Chris, and enter your email address, Chris at. Okay. You'll be emailed about your fate. Thank you for playing. Press space to submit your details. Storing outcome to database. Yeah.
It's a lot huger than it looks at the beginning.
Cool. I'll just flick the showing off for a bit, but maybe we can talk about it a bit more now that we've played through it.
Yeah. So basically, the farmer who we killed was another player, the last person to play this game.
Yeah, that's right. And what will happen is when someone else plays the game, they will run into me, and I suppose someone who's watching this, this interview could go and kill me now, or virtually kill us. Yeah, they could. I mean, we killed someone, so maybe we deserve to be killed. And yeah, so that's the idea behind the game. Is this little trick.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. How long does the average player have to wait to find out their fates?
Well, it really depends on how popular the game is. So one of the things, like at the moment, there'll be based on recently the game was played by PewDiePie, so a popular YouTuber, and that has kind of spiked the popularity of the game. So over the last 2 weeks, we've had someone play through the game every 20 minutes or so.
Oh wow!
So you don't have to wait long. But before that, some people had to wait maybe half a day or something. The other is a kind of a technical thing that makes it a bit tricky too, which is if two players. So when you start the game, what happens is that we pair you with another player. So say that you were the last person to play, Katie, and then both maybe Dan Golding and myself, we both start playing at the same time. What's going to happen is we're both going to be paired with you.
Okay.
Because there's no way to kind of resolve that. And so you actually get this thing of if multiple people start at the same time or around the same time and are paired with the same person, then the actual previous player branches to several possible players. And I mean that sounds like over if you think about that over time it'll branch out and be really really you'll get 50 people who are on the list of previous players who haven't been processed. But I do some pruning, so if you enter an invalid email address, then I prune you off that list, and it kind of works out that most of the time there's, you'll be on a queue of 4 people.
Right. Yeah. When you mentioned the invalid email addresses, I was wondering how often do you get people entering just junk answers to the farmers' questions and stuff?
You get
To tell a kind of boring story, the first time I played this, I decided to enter all my questions and answers seriously. So, the guy would say, why have you got blood all over you? And I would explain that. But when I had my partner play it, he was just oh, I don't know, I'll just enter some junk. And yeah, I'm wondering, I don't know, that kind of upset me a bit because I knew what was coming. And I was hoping he'd get to experience that too. But I'm wondering how many people actually do that, and how many people take that seriously. Do you know?
Well, I mean, it's really hard, right, to identify who's taking it. You could take it. Yeah, it's really hard to figure out who's taking it seriously. The experience that we had with the game. So the game came out maybe a year and a half ago, or quite a while ago, and a lot of people discovered it through YouTubers. So they watched the YouTuber play, the idea was spoilt for them, and then they would go through and they would enter, they'd enter something silly. And it's a free game, so a lot of younger children find it and enter things that are kind of disgusting.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, like I did some stats on it, and it's kind of terrible. But when the game first launched, what happened was there was a whole bunch of like people who were taking it seriously, and because the way it spread, like when it was first released, was that people on Twitter were posting out, "Hey, you got to play this game. Don't ask why, just play it." And so you had some people who were like, they went through and they played it, and like some people actually like, they killed friends of theirs, and they only realized afterwards they'd killed them, and they looked, down at the body, and it's like, oh, that's, so and so. I know that, that's their internet alias, and I know them in real life. And what is this game doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
All right. Yeah. So now you can explain the significance of the title, Moirai.
Oh, so Mirai is like the name of I don't remember this. I think it was Greek mythology. There is the idea of Mirai is one of the three gods of fate, and because in Mirai you're choosing the fate of another person, I thought it would be, and I wanted to have a unique kind of sounding title. I thought Mirai sounds really good because you're choosing the fate. I think there are like three gods that all tie into like choosing or deciding people's fate. I think one kind of the idea is that they draw a thread which represents your life, and one of the gods draws the thread, another one does something else, and the third one cuts it. And I think that Mirai is the one that cuts the thread.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very symbolic. Kind of like how you can choose to cut the thread of the life of the previous farmer.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of this interesting thing, like when you run into, so a lot of people play the game, right, and they run into the farmer as they leave, and what happens is they kind of assume it's just a non-playable character, right? So they don't really care about it, and so that it's just something that they can easily dispose of. It has no, that doesn't register, with them, but it's kind of neat, right, where it's actually a human being. Another person, and you could totally, like, someone could totally take this idea, right, and use it in modern games as well, right? Like there's a lot of tech people are really excited by like cloud computing.
Yeah.
But a lot of the ways people often talk about cloud computing is, oh, isn't it great if we're like making a game about pirates, we can offload all the intense processing of the waves up into the cloud, so you just download the data. And it would be really, like, you could totally use this idea for like cloud computing, where you have a pool of data, which is your base game data, and that data is polluted by other players. And I think, like, if you played some RPGs, and maybe like in certain areas of the game, parts of the world could be the way they are because someone made a decision in their game that like loosely ties into your game, and maybe there's no way for you to interact back, but you kind of know that, wait, this world exists in this particular configuration because someone else was here. And I think maybe that can add to like the authenticity of the world in a way.
Do you know of any other games that have used a similar mechanic at all?
No, I don't.
Yeah. I'm actually amazed that this hasn't really been explored.
I mean, there's a tricky side of things, whereas like if you want to connect to a database, you got to make that kind of secure, and there's a bit more work involved in protecting that stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, I'm not a very technical person. I'm just wondering how, I guess, I don't know how to put this. I guess there's a lot of technical stuff behind this game. How are you handling that? Like, what happened when PewDiePie, played your game and you suddenly had squillions of people playing it? Like, did that, I guess, threaten the behind the scenes of the game in any way?
I think it was fine. I'm not actually 100% sure. I mean, the way to think about it is that the game just connects. So when you start the game, it connects to a database, and it pairs you with a player. Then towards the end of the game, it repairs you with that player to avoid the duplicating problem, and then at the end, it submits your information to a database. So that's like, it calls the database like about 3 times. And if you think about when you go to a website, you're pulling information from a database. That would be, pulling it down once. You go to another page. You think of it like visiting 3 web pages. It's not
Okay.
really that intensive. So I think it was fine. I mean, I don't have the game is hosted on like a pretty cheap hosting. Like the database is hosted on a pretty cheap hosting thing.
Yeah.
It hasn't been compromised yet. It could be. I really shouldn't say this, but it could be.
Oh no.
It could be compromised. But the thing is, so there's no real reason behind. There's no great benefit to breaking into the database, right?
Right.
You know,
Okay.
I've had a few other games where those games actually stopped development because I couldn't guarantee that the data would be secure, and if someone comes along and breaks into the database and starts messing with things, then that can be really detrimental to the game.
Can you access previous players' answers? Like any of them? Like
Oh
how
yeah.
much of the information is stored?
Oh, okay. So like, well, I can access. I wish I could access more information. I wish I logged more information, but I can access. So I've got, of course, the name, the email address, the order in which the questions, like the actions were performed. So I know if you killed someone straight away, if you let them go straight away, which questions you asked, which order you asked them in. And when I send an email off a bit later, I use that ordering to change the email slightly. And I've got who you're paired with as well.
Okay. Did you have statistics like what percentage of people killed the first farmer, for example?
No, I didn't. I didn't take that one. It's one of these things. Like after the fact, I wish I did. I've got other statistics, so I know. Oh, actually, no. I think I do have that one. I think it's like from memory, like 60% of people, or maybe 75% of people let the didn't kill the farmer when they first saw them,
Okay.
which was like really surprising. I've got a full write up on
Yeah.
like my website with stats and stuff as well. I noticed like some ridiculous amount of the messages that were entered in were actually included content that was nasty or sexist or just terrible.
Yeah, can you filter that out, or will that eventually go to another player?
You can do some basic filtering on that. I haven't done any filtering,
Okay.
and this is something I'm still pretty torn about. But I think it takes away from. I mean, yeah. This is really a kind of hard point to like argue, but I think it takes away from as like an art object. I think it takes away from the authenticity of what it's meant to be by putting in those things. I mean, in some ways. I mean, it's kind of hard, right? Like, as a designer, you want someone to go through this experience and to, really fall into the illusion of, the kind of the trap that we're setting up with the game. And I think in some ways that means kind of letting go of those constraints. So not
Yeah.
censoring stuff on there. And in some ways that also kind of conveys that a lot of people who play the game aren't really nice. Or maybe, I mean, there's lots of ways to read into that if you see it. A lot of the time people will probably just be a little bit disgusted.
Yeah, I did notice the name Hitler in the Book of Farmers.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I guess I don't know how I would have felt if I had come across Hitler in the cave myself, but I
Yeah.
guess that would make an interesting experience for another player.
Yeah, like I kind of see the game as an experiment, and this is, I'm not trying to absolve myself of any social responsibility here, but I think of like, in treating it like an experiment, I didn't want to put too many controls on that. And I'm not arguing that that's the right way to go either. I'm just saying that's what happened. And in fact, the thing, and part of the reason why those controls aren't in there was because when I first developed the game, I suppose I was naive in thinking that, that people would enter sensible, reasonable things, and that was definitely not the case.
So with the knowledge that you have now, having seen how people respond to this game, would you make a game like this in future?
Yeah,
And what
I
would you
would.
change about it if you did?
Well, I think you can, you can take that information and use it as a way to reflect back at people, right? And so one of my immediate responses from seeing the disgust at the game, seeing people enter the disgusting thing was, what if I could reflect these back at people? And actually, in some way, it's not an entirely bad thing. So one of the other reasons why I didn't interfere with it was because I saw a whole bunch of younger YouTubers, younger kids who were about 12 years old, and what they did was they played through the game, and they got to the end, and they realized after they'd entered all their details, they realized what they had done and that they didn't enter nice things. And then what some of them did was they went back and they replayed the game from the start, and they entered in something nice, and they played along with the kind of intent of the game. And I kind of wanted to preserve that because it gives people a chance to kind of come back and change things around. And that was kind of interesting, just because what the young YouTubers did was they recorded everything. So they recorded their first playthrough, them entering something nasty, then they played it again, then they entered something nice, and you could see that kind of click in their head. And I kind of found maybe that's the one kind of gold thing to take away from the horribleness that a lot of people have entered.
Right. Okay. Well, I think we have time. My voice is reflecting back at me, and that's kind of freaking me out. I think we have time to play one more game.
Okay.
Have you got a preference?
Yeah, I've got like a few smaller games that we can try.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference though?
I quite liked the Spandex Parable.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. All right, let's play that one. I'll do a screen share, an entire screen. Now, I should say with this game, this is a game that I worked on with several other people again.
It was a game project, right?
Sorry?
It was a game jam project?
Yeah, this was a game jam game.
The Spandex Parable.
For the... can you see that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, this was a game jam game for the first Molly Jam. As you can see, quite a few people worked on it. We'll just play. You can hear the volume.
Sam Crisco.
Yeah,
he gave one of the most well-received talks at Free Play 2013. So it's nice to see another Free Play person popping up here.
Yeah, Sam used to live over in Adelaide, and I got him to do the writing for this, and he's pretty fantastic at writing.
Use the left and right arrow keys to move, and the up key to jump.
And you can hear the voice.
Spacebar, or X, or whatever your persuasion.
And you can hear the voice okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great.
Who did the voice acting?
Jan, I can't remember his last name.
Now, I realise this doesn't look great, even for a game jam. But there's a reason for that. Oh, is there a reason for that?
Yeah, he's from Sydney, and before the Molly Jam started, he asked, who would be looking for voice work for their games on Twitter, and no one responded, and I figured that we might as well, ask him to do some voice work for our game. So yeah, it was just a stranger we met over Twitter, but it was.
On a little something. Get ready. At the end of the game is the most lewd, gratuitous sex scene you'll ever see in a video game. The developers spent most of their time making it as salacious and graphic as possible. None of this BioWare stuff, where you don't get to see anything and you have awkward clipping animation. No, this will be the real deal. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, he did a great job of the narrator's voice. The spoofing the Stanley Parable.
Okay. Keep going.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, fantastic. You're doing brilliantly. Oh, boy, we are going to be watching this exciting sex scene in no time. Hey, look, double jump. Now you can get to places you couldn't reach before. Namely, the end of the game, which is just over that wall. The only place you'd want to be going, I'm sure. There it says, the castle! Oh, so tantalizingly, deliciously close. Behind that door is our sexy salvation. Oh, imagine the tits, the moans and groans, the skin, the sweat, the other bodily fluids.
Should we go through?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll go through.
The path of the least resistance is the path of the loser. H.G. Wells.
Did H.G. Wells just call me a loser?
Well, technically, I suppose I was the one playing, so I am a loser. Did you see?
So
Yep, go on.
I feel like there are places we could get with those double jump boots that we couldn't get to earlier. So let's play again.
All right, cool. Sorry, I just muted the game so that we can talk. I think I've muted the game.
Can I ask about this splash screen? This game can only be played once. Obviously, that's not true because here we are playing it a second time. What is the purpose of that screen?
The purpose is to it's more of a prod or a nudge to get people to think about what they're doing.
Okay.
So as you noticed, if you get the double jump and you go back to the start, then you can kind of continue the game a little bit further.
Yeah.
Which is really neat. I'm not sure if the nudge was a good thing to include. It's this annoying kind of conceit from I'm still not sure about that one. We're kind of debating about it. I know that Sam wasn't too keen on including it.
Okay. But having watched people play it, do most people go through that exit at the end or not?
I wish we were taking stats on this, but we don't know. I think like a few YouTubers. So the game is based on the Stanley Parable with the narrator. That's why you get the name. Ooh.
Yeah.
I just wait a sec. Yeah. And so what happened was, and this was actually like released after the Stanley Parable mod came out, like a year later or something.
Okay.
Or 6 months later, but it actually got a bit popular after the final game was released. People had rediscovered it, and there was a whole bunch of there was one popular YouTuber who played the game, and he got to the end, and instead of showing the H.G. Wells quote, he just like bleeped everything out to continue the trick, onto his viewers.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not 100% sure on like what percentage of people found the secret exit. I think it's about 50-50.
Okay.
So let's go back.
Head back to the beginning.
Wait, no! Where are you going? That's not the right way. Sex scene is to the right. That's left. You do know your lefts from your right, right? Aha! I know what this is. I see what's up. Your partner is looking over your shoulder. Worried your mum might catch you in another compromising position. Just close the door. Lock it. You don't have a lock? Barricade it. Oh, who cares? That celibacy stuff is a load of BS. Look, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt here. Maybe you're just horrid at playing platformers. I don't know how you can misinterpret a castle with E-N-D, end, written in large letters. But look! Here, let me just move the ending for you. You can't possibly miss this. And yet you continue to miss this. Come on! You can do it! Aha! I've got it. You don't speak English. Of course! Devi andare al castillo se vuoi vedere il porno. Complete para betitas muchos grandes. Hayaku shiro itte! Ero video miru yo! I'm sick of playing around. This isn't Portal. I am not GLaDOS. I take no pleasure in watching you play these levels over and over. I'm about the ends, not the means. I don't get off watching you jump around. I get off watching what's behind those bloody doors. Will you just do us both a favor and finish the game?
Okay, so then you get to this screen where it kind of loops forever. And the only way to go is down. So if you go down,
You're not going in, are you?
and then the idea here is that you just wait.
You know,
Oh,
what if the aim of the game was to resist actually completing it? That kept me up all night yesterday. I didn't expect much of you. I thought you'd take the first opportunity to finish the game, lured by the shallow promise of sex. But you held out. You resisted the temptation to finish early. You showed me that there's hope for gamers yet. You feel that? What you're feeling right now? Those are emotions. Isn't that worth so much more than sex?
What a great ending.
yeah, that's really good. So that's Peter Molyneux.
The spandex parable.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm going to butcher the last name, but Jan Belich did the voice acting.
Okay. Yeah, he did a great job. So
Yeah.
that was part of the Molyneux Game Jam, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was.
Right.
Yeah, so it was just like created over the weekend. It was pretty rough, but yeah, it was a really, I don't know, really nice game with just like the motivation. Before that jam, I was thinking a lot about games that are about sex in some ways, and that was that I suppose was the manifestation of that thinking.
I played it on, I think it was Newgrounds, and it had an actual sex warning at the beginning, like contains explicit content. Is there actually any in the game, or
No, of course
warning just for fun?
Yeah, that warning is so fun, and it was really good to see the people on Newgrounds like continued on with that, with playing on the idea.
Yeah, reading the comments was fun. Some of them were just like, "This sucks. Where's the sex scene?"
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really fun game. I believe we have to wrap up now. So yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say about the spandex parable before we do?
Yeah, not really. I suppose that is also a lot of other people put in time and effort there. So you had like Matt Trobiani come in who is working on a game called Hacknet, which is in the Free Play Awards. He came on and did some level design. You had Colin who came in and did some graphics. You had Jan who did the voices, and of course Sam who did the fantastic writing as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Well, we might hand back over to Dan Golding to finish up the session for us.
Yep.
So Dan, if you're there.
You're on mute, Dan.
There it goes. I am here. Thank you so much for that session. That was really terrific and really fascinating. Some amazing games there, and we've been linking them on the Free Play Twitter account as we've been going as well. The ones
Oh,
we play
great.
on. So
Thank you very much for letting us come online and having Chris show you his games.
No, absolutely, yeah. Thanks so much to Katie and to Chris as well for taking the time to be part of Free Play Online. So we'll end it there. Thanks so much again.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Katie, and thanks, Dan. It's been great.
Thank you very much.